Hey, audio. What's going on, YouTube land? This is your man, the dude. Gotta put one thumb up there. I don't feel like doing another thumb. But yeah, man. It's Intergalactic Brew. One more again. Bringing you another video. And once again, it's MMA time for the weekend. Matter of fact, it's MMA time tonight as well. Man, I almost forgot about that, and I just did this on my show yesterday. Real quick before I get into these predictions about Strikeforce, Feijiao versus Henderson, I want to remind everybody out there to go and check out me and my good buddy Kurt Johnson's MMA website. It's called MMA Mayhem MMA Mayhem ATL.blogspot.com, and it's a really cool site. I got a lot of videos up there from UFCs and Strikeforce, and Kurt's got some really good articles up there, and it's just a really fun site to explore. So I encourage each one of you that look at this video to go out and check the site. I'll put the link down here in the little box, so y'all can go check it out and see all the great stuff that we have talking about MMA. Now, with that out of the way, now it's time to get down to the real purpose of this video, which is Strikeforce, Feijiao versus Henderson this Saturday night, 10 o'clock p.m. exclusively on Showtime. I'm pumped up, so let's get to it. Okay, I'm just gonna go pitter patter here. I'm gonna talk about this middleweight matchup. It might not be the first fight of the night, but I'm gonna talk about this matchup anyway because I really like it. It's gonna be Tim Kennedy. Y'all may remember him, the war hero from Austin, Texas, who was on a really good roll, I should say, in Strikeforce until he lost to Jacare in the Strikeforce middleweight championship match last year. He's going to be taking on a guy who I know is probably got to be the angriest man in the world after getting humiliated on national television by Robbie Lawler last year in what was one of the best fights of 2010, Melvin Manhoef. You can bet this guy is going to be looking for revenge in this fight. Not necessarily against Tim Kennedy, but just looking for a redemption, period, being that he got devastatingly knocked out his last fight. So we're going to take a look at the records here. Tim Kennedy 12-3, not a bad record. Melvin Manhoef 24-8-1. That's not too shabby either. Both of these guys are well-polished fighters. Although I do think Tim Kennedy is a little bit more versatile than Melvin Manhoef is. But Melvin Manhoef is always going to bring that world-class Muay Thai striking to the octagon or the cage or whatever you want to call it. And I think he's got a chance to beat Tim Kennedy here. And basically what Melvin Manhoef needs to do is he needs to put the pressure on Kennedy, pretty much like how he did in the Robbie Lawler fight, except he needs to go for the kill this time. I think the mistake that he made with Robbie Lawler is when he kept chopping his leg into little pieces with those leg kicks. I think he forgot to throw punches. I think he forgot to throw punches in with those leg kicks, during that fight. And I think the reason why he got knocked out is because he dropped, I believe, his left hand and left his chin open for Robbie Lawler to target it and connect with the overhand right that put him away for the win. Melvin Manhoef has got to keep his hands up, got to keep that guard up, fire those leg kicks early and often, chop Kennedy down early. Like I said, just basically put pressure on him, you know, and eventually, you know, when Tim Kennedy leaves the opening for himself, which I'm probably sure he will if Manhoef is able to apply pressure on Kennedy with his arsenal of strikes, he will catch Tim Kennedy and possibly lay him out and gain his redemption in the process. But then again, on the other hand, what Tim Kennedy has to do, he has to get this fight to the mat. He cannot allow himself to stand up and mix it up as much as I know he wants to, as much as I know that ego of his is burning inside of him to want to KO Melvin Manhoef. It will not work because Melvin Manhoef is too good of a striker to get caught again. The only reason why Melvin Manhoef got knocked out, probably for the first time in his career, was because he was facing another elite striker much like himself. But Tim Kennedy is not the caliber of striker that Robbie Lawler is, so therefore he would need to be smarter about the situation, and he would need to take this fight to the ground and try to either gain top position and ground and pound Melvin Manhoef to victory, or either he will try to out-wrestle Melvin Manhoef and possibly look for a submission. Now, Tim Kennedy is good when he gets guys back. If a guy is able to relinquish his back for Tim Kennedy, then Tim Kennedy will capitalize on it and he will choke you out. So, if Tim Kennedy can somehow bait Melvin Manhoef into giving up his back, then Tim Kennedy will undoubtedly win this fight, possibly by submission. Now, with that being said, what I think is truly going to happen in this fight, I think that Melvin Manhoef, for some reason, is going to win this fight. I think that Tim Kennedy is going to forget about the ground attack, and I think he's going to try and stand and test his striking against a world-class superior striker like Melvin Manhoef. Melvin Manhoef will apply the pressure on Tim Kennedy. He will use his leg kicks and his punches, and he will eventually end up catching Tim Kennedy with a right hook and dropping him and pounding him out. I say this happens in the second round. Melvin Manhoef TKO. But, this is a big but. And no, I'm not talking about the one on a woman. No. But if Tim Kennedy can somehow use his quickness, but Melvin Manhoef is a quick guy too, but if Tim Kennedy can outsmart Melvin Manhoef and be the quicker man and dodge the striking attack and somehow press him up against the cage and get this fight to the ground somehow, then Tim Kennedy will win this fight. So this is a winnable fight for Tim Kennedy, but I just think that he's going to get himself lured into a striking match with Melvin Manhoef, and he's going to end up losing. So I'm picking Melvin Manhoef second round TKO, but I'm giving Tim Kennedy a good chance as well. All right. The other match that I want to get to is Morelos Rumina-Conan. I hope I said that name right. If I didn't, Morelos or Marlos, I think it is. I'm sorry, baby. You know, don't choke me out. You know, it takes me a while to figure out certain people's names, but be that as it may, Marlos Conan against Liz Gorilla Carmucci. I think that's how you pronounce that. But anyway, this is going to be a women's MMA contest, and it's going to be for the World Women's Welterweight Championship. As you recall, Marlos Conan submitted Sarah Kaufman at a recent Strikeforce pay-per-view sometime in the latter part of 2010. It was very shocking, to say the least, because nobody thought that Sarah Kaufman could be submitted. Conan pulled it off. Therefore, she is your new women's welterweight champion. This is going to be her first title defense of her belt. And from what I hear about this Liz girl, I hear that she's a very, very stiff test for anybody. I heard that she's extremely powerful. She's undefeated, 6-0. Conan is 18-4. And I heard that her striking is pinpoint. Like, I haven't been able to catch any footage of this woman, but I will probably do so either today or tomorrow. But from what I've heard, just from reading articles on SureDog and Strikeforce.com itself, I heard that this chick is for real. So this will be a stiff test for Marlos Conan. Now, in the past, Marlos Conan has had trouble with good strikers, a.k.a. Sarah Kaufman, the previous welterweight women's champion. She was tagging Conan in that fight, but it's tough. But I'll give it to Conan, man. That chick is tough. You know, she is tough. You know, and she was able to fight through it, and somehow she was able to wrestle Kaufman down to the mat, and able to pull out the late submission victory to become the women's champion. So, yeah, I believe she can win the fight. You know, I believe she can win this, but like I said, from what I hear about this Liz girl, she's something else. But you know what? I'm going to go ahead and pick the intelligent choice here, and I'm going to take Marlos Conan in this fight. And I say that I'll probably give her this fight maybe like late first round submission. I think I just think for some reason that Liz is going to be too concerned with trying to put Conan away, and Conan's going to capitalize on that, and she's going to do the intelligent thing and get the fight to the ground. And I think when she gets the fight to the ground, I think she will be able to easily submit Kamoch. I think that's her last name, or at least how you pronounce it. But anyway, be that as it may, I'm picking Marlos Conan. Late first round, sub, retains the women's belt. Okay, and last but not least, we have the main event of the evening. Rafael Feijão Cavalcante versus Dan Hendo Henderson. Now this fight is very intriguing, and I've been going back and forth with this fight. And this fight can go either two ways. We could either see Rafael Feijão get out wrestled for most of the fight and get worn out by Dan Henderson, because Feijão has been known to get tired in fights. His conditioning has been suspect throughout his career. So it'll be interesting to see how Dan Henderson tests his conditioning in this fight. Or number two, we could see Dan Henderson get knocked out for the first time in his MMA career. Now, this is my only thing. If you recall, Anderson Silva, a teammate of Rafael Feijão's, fought Dan Henderson when Dan Henderson was in the UFC, and Anderson Silva was completely ripping Dan Henderson apart standing up, and he still couldn't put him away. And the only way he was able to beat Dan Henderson was submitting him. Now, Dan Henderson is submittable, so to speak. He got submitted by Minotauro Nogueira, and he got submitted by Anderson Silva, both world-class fighters. Now, the question is, can Feijão submit Dan Henderson? I don't know. Does he have a chance? Yes. I say that Rafael Feijão needs to set up the striking for the takedown. Plain and simple. Just set up your takedowns with your striking. Try to take Dan Henderson down. Jake Shields did it. I know you can do it. If he takes Dan Henderson down, he can submit him. But if he doesn't, he might get knocked out, and then it'll be all she wrote. But you know what? I'm going to pick Rafael Feijão submission I say 4th round retain.